What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next edition of the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast. I'm Darren. We don't have Ryan today. We actually have Josh, so welcome him aboard. Bears beat the Packers. Wow. That's all I can say out of that game. Shea McClellan, the hero of the night.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonder that went into that game. And to be honest with you, I'm a little bit of a gambling man, and I was thinking to myself, is there any chance in hell that the Bears come out of here with a victory? I kept the phone down, didn't make a wager, and it's a good thing because Shea McClellan put Aaron Rodgers into the locker room in the first quarter, and the rest is history.
Yeah, when it happened, I saw him starting to come back when Rodgers tried to scramble, and I'm going, sweet, Shea's actually, he might get a sack, but usually he gets close, and then he never, ever finishes a sack. And as soon as he grabbed him, I'm sitting there going, wow. And it looked like, Isaiah Frey jumped on him too. So when he slammed him down, I'm going, wow. Like the thing Bors and Bernstein joked about at the end of their show came true. The very first drive that Shea McClellan's going to knock out Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't want to see anyone get hurt, so I don't want to sound like I'm celebrating it. But to say I was disappointed would be a lie, because now it's an even playing field. Now it's backup quarterback versus really bad backup quarterback.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was for a while there. I was wondering if Corey Wooten was going to be strictly known for ending Brett Favre's career, pretty much. And if Shea McClellan is known for ending Aaron Rodgers' seasons, there's worse ways to go out. Hopefully, he's a lot more productive than that. But as of right now, we came out of Lambeau with the victory, and that's the main thing. Not only did it buy us some time, but it bought us a ton of hope and a bunch of confidence going into this week against the Lions.
And Mark Trestman gets his first win against the Packers in Lambeau. I think, didn't Lovey do the same thing?
Yeah, I believe so. Back in 2003, it's one of the first things in the press conference. Lovey Smith was, we're going to get off and beat the Packers, and that's one of the biggest things. And Trestman tried to downplay rivalries early on in his Bears career, but there's no way to downplay Bears-Packers, especially with the way they've been dominating us.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, Trestman, I like the Trestman hire. I've liked it all year. I've never really been like, oh man, I wish they would have hired McCoy or anyone else. But that game, his game plan in that game was so, he had a bye week to prepare, so that's good too. But he took advantage of that, and it looked like they were prepared. That was the smoothest this offense has looked, in my opinion, is with Trestman. Josh McCown played great. He's not Cutler, but he was super efficient, and he wasn't bad at all. He doesn't make bad decisions. He could be productive in the system for a while. But it was just nice to see Trestman come out with a really good game plan and actually have a Bears with a 21st century offense, and that was the game that solidified the hire for me. Like this was, I call it the Mark Trestman experience, and I think we just got experienced.
For the longest time, we've been wondering, when is the offense going to catch up to the defense? And unfortunately, it seems that the offense passed the defense, and usually that's not that bad of a thing because the Bears defense has been at such a high standard for so many years, but we've taken a step back drastically this year. We're still creating the turnovers, but our running defense has just been atrocious, and the passing defense hasn't been played to its potential either. So there's a lot of things to look onto it, and like you said, the Mark Trestman game plan on offense was absolutely fantastic. I was happy from start to finish of that game with the offense, especially with the talent we have. It's only up from here on the offensive side of the ball. The question is, can the defense catch back up? And that's why I was so happy with the outcome of this game, because it actually gave you hope. If Shea McClellan can turn out to be a fragment of what you expect out of a first-round draft pick, and that adds depth to your defensive line, and plus the Jay Ratliff signing, along with Stephen Paya getting a little bit healthier, that just helps the defensive line and depth and those young linebackers step into their new roles.
The Jay Ratliff signing, they make a good point with that, because if he comes in and can contribute on any level, that's better than what's in front of him. Those guys, they make a play occasionally, but if he can just be a little bit of what he used to be, that instantly makes the defense better, because if you get him back, by the time he works in with the line and he's in a groove with that group, Briggs will be back healthy. Like you said, Paya will be healthy. Our safeties are still the worst in football, but there's a chance that the defense could improve, at least against the run defense. Aaron Rodgers is going to pick us apart, so would Breeze, or anyone we potentially, if we were to somehow make the playoffs, would pick us apart. But it would be really nice to see the run defense improve, because then, our offense can keep up with pretty much anybody at this point because the line is so good. So the Bears could make a run at the end of the year if they could survive the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the best part about it is everybody had this game marked down as a loss. Well, at least I did, and most people I talked to did.
Blowout.
Yeah, exactly. So not only just by the phrase buying us some time, we were expecting to be 4-4 at this time. Well, we're 5-3, and we're challenging for a division right now. We're tied with Detroit. So if we take care of business at home, and I think we can, even with McCown getting the start, it's not the offense that's going to be the issue, and it's not Josh McCown. It's whether the defense can get back to its old ways, or at least to where it's not a bottom third defense in the league. And I think they have enough talent there to get to back on track. So obviously Calvin Johnson's coming to town, and Peanut Tillman has had a very good time handling Calvin Johnson. He's the only one to pretty much hold him in check, but there's still a lot more talent on that Detroit offense, Reggie Bush and company. So it's going to be an interesting Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it. I wrote the other day about having a week off just to mentally relax after the frustration that we had for the last few weeks. And it was good. It was Friday approach, and I'm like, still not thinking Bears, and I was wondering what the hell's wrong with me. But it was so frustrating after that Washington game that we just needed a step back. And now we're rejuvenated. We beat the Packers, and we're going into a game against Detroit for number one outright in the division. It's a great thing.
I went from the timeline of after Cutler got hurt. I went from, okay, if he's out, because it looked really bad. I'm thinking he tore his groin completely. He's going to be out most of the year. Just shut him down. Let's tank for the year. Get a high draft pick. Let's get Clowney. But that would be, we had to have the first pick for that. But I'm sitting there going, okay, well, what quarterbacks are in the draft? Maybe they don't re-sign Cutler, and all the stuff's going through my head. And in the 2-week span or whatever it was, all of a sudden now we're talking playoffs. And now I'm thinking, not really talking playoffs, but we're actually back in contention for once. I mean, I guess 5-3 as opposed to 4-4 is a huge difference.
Especially
in one
NFC
game,
North.
But yeah, especially in this division, and that was a division game. So I'm looking at it. I mean, look at the Giants when they won the Super Bowl as a wild card. I always draw this comparison when the Bears were. Like, I did it earlier in the year, and I'm bringing it back up. The Giants' defense was ranked like 26th. It was bad. They got hot in the playoffs, and the defensive line tore it up. So they still were good. But they were 9-7 and went to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying the Bears are going to the Super Bowl. I don't think they get past Seattle going out there and playing. Or I don't think anyone would besides the Niners. But I mean, to think that they could get in the playoffs and potentially be good because of this offense, if Cutler comes back and then things just keep going, I think it's going to keep getting better because of the, just the more time together in the system. It's just the natural progression. So if that keeps improving, the Bears could be a dangerous team come week 15, 16.
They're going to definitely be on everyone's radar, granted that the offense or injury doesn't take place any more than we've already had. But let me ask you this. As far as Jay Cutler goes, do you expect him to be back? If he comes back healthy and has a end of the season like he did the start, do you think the Bears re-sign Jay Cutler?
I think you have to, or at least franchise tag him. I mean, if he stays on the path he's been all year and he has around 4,000 yards, which I don't know if we'll get there missing 2 games. So say he has 3,500 yards, his interception to touchdown ratio is good, and he's still with a 90+ quarterback rating. I think I see a franchise tag coming. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to commit long term to him because of the injuries, with all the concussion histories and now the groin injury. I don't know how it even got hurt. I have no clue. I think it was hurt prior to that play, and he just happened to one little motion tore it on that play. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think on that? Because I think that, though, I could see it. I'm 50-50 on it. Franchise tag or that. They're bringing him back.
I hope it's a 1-year deal. I hope they don't use the franchise tag. I hope they can come to a happy median and just pay him enough and save the franchise tag for somebody else. I don't think it's going to be Henry Melton getting it again, but hopefully they can reach something with him. But as far as Jay Cutler coming back, I think it's a necessity. Obviously, Josh McCown isn't the answer moving forward. 34. And, it takes too much damn time to groom someone in the draft. And even though you have talent on offense and young talent on offense, that defense isn't getting any younger. So the time is now for the Chicago Bears. And I know draft picks, and you have a lot more hope with the NFL draft with this regime in than we did with the Jerry Angelo era. But that being said, I think Jay Cutler's got to come back, because if you don't have Cutler, I think we get bad Brandon Marshall along with it. And then when bad Brandon Marshall comes along, he's going to want out of town too if Jay Cutler isn't here. So next thing you know, you go from Marshall and Jeffrey to just Jeffrey, and you're right back where you started from 3 years ago.
Exactly. So. That's always been the thing in the back of my mind. I'm going, even if Jay played bad this year, Brandon Marshall and Jay are as close as it gets for a quarterback wide receiver. So do you want to piss him off and deal with that? I don't, and Jay's your best option. He would be the best quarterback available on the market, and why would you switch? He's only going to get better the more time he plays with Trestman. Obviously, their relationship is real. That's the first time we've ever seen Jay with that, where he's standing when he's not playing, standing next to the coach on the sideline. They were helping, they were going back and forth with play calls. I mean, that's a real relationship that Jay's never had probably since Shanahan, and I don't even know if it was that good with Shanahan. I think you have to bring him back, but I do think you have to draft a guy in the draft at some point, just in case.
Absolutely.
Just in case. And you go draft him late because Trestman likes those guys. Like McCown. If he had McCown 8 years ago, McCown probably would be a starting quarterback. Not with Jay on the team, but if he was just coaching a team and McCown happened to come in, I mean, that's a quarterback the kind of guy he would make good. Look what he did with Rich Gannon.
Just to show you a little bit of my meatball side, we've had arguments before, so I'm sure you're well aware of it. But I was a huge Kyle Orton fan.
Me too. Wow, I didn't know that.
I was very upset when we made the trade for Jay Cutler just because of giving up the draft picks. Then I thought about it. We were just going to screw the draft pick up anyway. So I tried to look at the brighter side. And Jay Cutler is probably the most – well, not probably. He is the most talented quarterback we've had on the roster since probably Sid Luckman, as unfortunate as that sounds. Exactly. So that being said, I was upset when they made the deal for him. And I'm trying to like Jay. And last night, just seeing him have emotion, not just sitting on the bench, angry, pouty Jay Cutler, but to see him actually cheering McCown on, to have what you said was the perfect word, a relationship with somebody, is awesome. And I think the potential for him to grow is outstanding with Trestman. And just thinking about Jay Cutler having 2 years in a row in the same system with the same offensive coordinator is exciting. That being said, you go to the complete polar opposite of having Mel Tucker as your defensive coordinator and being unhappy with what he's done so far. But sticking with the Jay Cutler theme, I'm excited to see what happens, especially with Trestman moving forward.
See, you mentioned Kyle Orton, so my Kyle Orton senses are tingling, and I have to comment on this. The Neckbeard Army, one of the Neckbeard Army leaders back in the day. I was interviewed on the Tribune for the Neckbeard Army from the forums. It's on the internet. Just search it. It was, I loved Kyle Orton. Actually, I had the thought when I was watching McCown, I'm going, if Kyle Orton was the backup for this team, the Bears would be really well off too, because he would thrive in this kind of system. I think, at least. He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have the mobility that McCown has, but he's got doesn't have a cannon, but he's accurate. He was accurate in Denver as he got older and better. That would be a good fit for this team. But yeah, back to Jay Cutler. That's just nonsense I'm talking now. But back to Jay Cutler and the relationship. I mean, that's big. How do you not bring him back? And also on the sideline when Peppers got the interception, he went over to him and said something to Peppers. There was a shot of him kind of turning and walking away from Peppers. So that's something we've never seen from Jay. I think Trestman has evolved Jay in 8 games quicker than more than it's happened his entire time in Chicago. Like, he had that little bit a year ago where he got in better shape and he was a little more of a leader. But now it's a whole different world. Yeah,
one of the things that we've talked about numerous times with Jay Cutler was his toughness factor. And when he got injured in the NFC Championship game, I was one of the people that jumped on and I was like, why is he not coming back out, or why is he not fighting? But you know what? That was a mistake on my part, because he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. He goes through so much, and it took me a while to realize that and to even admit that. But it's just for him to be back and probably going to play the week after the Detroit game. I'm blanking on who that is right now, but he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. I believe so. Yeah. So it's exciting to have him back, and just seeing a whole different side of him with the leadership that he's bringing to the team. And you were speaking of Julius Peppers. To switch it up real quick, do you think Peppers is just having an injury-riddled season, or do you think he's losing it, or what's the issue with Julius Peppers? I know that's weird to talk about considering he actually had a pretty decent game on Monday, but what's his issues?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, what is he, 32 now? That's about when players start to hit that wall. I mean, I think you're gonna, for the next year. I don't know. I mean, if he's even on the team next year, can't they cut him after next year and save money? Or I forget what his contract situation
it's gonna be like Yeah, it's like an $18 million cap save cap space save if they get rid of him. So as much as I love Julius Peppers, I don't think he's long for the team after this season.
And especially with guys like Alshon Jeffrey, who will be going to their third year, you're going to want to wrap that guy up big time, especially before he gets to that next level in his play, which he's getting close. But back to Peppers, I think it's a little bit of that plantar fasciitis, and I think it's just age starting to catch up to him. I think you're going to see bad games and good games the rest of the year. I think. But now, if Shea McClellan, I mean, I don't think this is necessarily the coming out party. He was playing against a backup T.J. Lang left, and they had a backup right tackle in. So there's that aspect of it, too. Do I think McClellan's going to take over and be great? Not really at all. But if Ratliff comes back and can take advantage of the attention that Peppers gets, that would help the whole line. So Ratliff really coming in changes the game for everybody. But I don't know. I think Peppers is just starting to get to that point that all the defensive ends hit at that age, 32, 33. I think it's just coming. And I'm in denial about it. I don't want to acknowledge that he's actually getting old, but because he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, it sucks really bad that he's losing it, especially because when he signed with the Bears, that excitement level was just at an apex, because we haven't had a defensive lineman like that since Richard Dent or Dan Hampton even, and
or Tommy Harris for a very small stretch of time, but that was it.
Yeah, how Tommy got to the Pro Bowl, I'm not exactly sure. He had that one good year, and then I believe he was a 3 or 4 time Pro Bowler, which
he was good in 07 too, statistically.
But yeah, it's exciting to have McClellan, and you don't hope for him to be like that every game. You just hope for the median where he's not completely where he's nowhere to be found, but
get me a sack,
just to have some kind of impact.
Get into the pocket a couple times and just force the quarterback out of the pocket and get a sack or push him down. And he gets eaten up so quickly by offensive tackles. It's sad because he has talent. It's just, I still think he's playing out of position. I think he should be in a 3-4 where he's only got a pass rush. I mean, he's played better, I think, this year against the run at times, but you still run at him every time. I would never run the other way. Every time, I'm going at the white guy. Going at the white guy wearing 99, because you run away from size, you run at speed. It's the name of the game.
Shea McClellan doesn't do a very good job of keeping contained and holding his edge, and that's strictly because of his size too. I mean, he needs to put on a legit 30 pounds to be a defensive end, or at least a extremely productive one, in my opinion. But
he lost weight.
The good thing is we have Corey Wooten, who could play defensive end and has been doing a pretty decent job. That being said, how excited were you to see the robot on Monday night?
That was the best part of the game. That was awesome. I'm sitting there, and my favorite part of that is he does the robot, and he's like, "Oh wait, I got to get back to the line," and then he runs back to the line. That'd be the best GIF online ever. That was perfect. He went Chappelle Show on us.
Exactly. What's your take on Matt Forte? Do you think that they're going to try and get him more involved in the passing game? He had a really good night on the ground. I believe he had 125-yard rushing on 24 attempts, but he didn't get involved too much in the passing game. Do you expect that to change with McCown as a check down, or do you think they're going to keep things the way it's been going?
I think he's going to be that check down guy with McCown, definitely. I mean, that's obvious, because every time, I mean, it's one thing I liked about McCown is, granted, he doesn't have the arm to do the stuff Jay does, where Jay doesn't have to check down because he can force it somewhere. Which, that doesn't always work out. But it was a couple plays where everything was closed, and he went down, and he went down to Forte, and they got 7 yards out of the deal. I think you need to get him in the passing game more, but you have so many weapons now, I don't know if you need them, but I would like to see more screens, especially if the running game's not working. I thought that would be a great way, and they did it a couple times against the Packers, to stop that blitz that they bring on third down, which is, I forget exactly what the situation is, and Dom Capers blitzes a lot on, like, third and, I don't remember the yardage. But they did it a couple times with the screen. I think if you can get that going too, I see Forte should be the workhorse of this offense. He should get 20+ carries a game, and he should have 5 receptions. I don't see why he doesn't touch the ball more than he does. And maybe, especially against the Packers, the second time you play him, I still don't want to air it out against them. I want to run the ball and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. Especially with this defense, I think that's a smart thing to do, is feed the ball to Forte more and get him involved in the passing game. Keep the clock going with safe passes.
Absolutely. The only way to beat Green Bay is to do the clock control. And you referenced wanting to see more. I hate to say it because he had a rapport with Jay Cutler, but Earl Bennett, I want to see less Earl Bennett and more Marquise Wilson
I'll
or
agree.
Marquez Wilson. Just the speed factor and the talent that number 10 has. I think we need to get him in, especially with Joe Anderson going down this past week. I want to see number 10 on the field more often in the 4 wide receiver and 5 wide receiver sets. I think he's just got the potential to do big things.
There was one drive, I don't remember when it was in the game. I didn't write it down, and I don't really remember. But Marquise Wilson was on the field for Earl Bennett. It was once, and someone pointed out on Twitter. I didn't even see it initially. I think that's the thing this offense is missing, is that big threat over the field. I always call it the Johnny Knox type player, because Knox was good at going deep. He just couldn't do anything else. And unfortunately, obviously, his career ended a horrible way. But if Marquise Wilson can stretch the field, especially when Jay comes back, how do you stop this offense? You can't blitz them because they're just picking up everything. And if Forte usually picks up whoever gets in pretty well, or at least chips him. I mean, how do you defend this offense at that point, especially because it's Jay Cutler when he's back? I mean, that's what Jay's missing. I mean, Alshon doesn't create any separation, but he's so big with his, as Gruden said, his 9-foot diameter or whatever the hell he said, and then Marshall just being the monster that he is. Going deep's possible, but you're right. That's exactly what we need. And I'm a big Earl Bennett fan. I liked Earl Bennett at Vanderbilt. I like Jay at Vanderbilt. I could go back with those guys. But Earl, he's inconsistent. And I never thought I'd say that about him. I thought he was going to be one of those, like, Isaac Bruce kind of players who's just super, or like Bobby Ingram when Bobby Ingram was at his peak. Just a super consistent player. Not great, not bad. But he drops easy passes sometimes. And I don't know. I don't get it. But Marquise Wilson, I think, is going to see the field. He has to, because Joe Anderson's out, and Joe Anderson has been on the field a couple times.
Yeah, whenever you sign a big contract, well, at least a big contract for Earl Bennett, and then the next thing you know, you're renegotiating to even stay on the team, that's a sign of bad things to come. Mm-hmm. And I think Earl can be productive, but I just don't think he has the potential that Wilson does. What did you think of Michael Bush and his small, limited role coming in to spell Matt Forte on Monday night? How do you think he performed?
That's good, because I would have forgot to bring that up. I had a bunch to say about that. I think that Bush should be used more. I think, especially if you got a lead and you're just trying to milk, like that last drive, an 18 play, they ran the ball 14 times for 65 yards or something, or 63 yards or something like that. That was. Mm-hmm. Michael Bush came in just to be a vulture. I think that's great. Right. Keep him with fresh legs. Forte's been good in the red zone. If Forte worked to get down there, I'd rather Forte get the touchdown at this point. But if you can work Michael Bush in and keep him warm so he comes in and isn't completely cold and they can't get into a rhythm, I think giving him a couple plays here and there is great, because he is a good running back, and that's just the truth. And I think a lot of the work that he gets is just, it's random. There's no really rhythm to it, and he can't get going. He comes in for 2 carries, and you don't see him for 2 quarters. So I think if they were to work him in more, it would spell Forte and keep Forte a little bit fresher. I mean, he's usually pretty fresh at the end of a game, regardless if they don't use him as much as I wish they used him. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think Michael Bush should be used a lot more than he is, or at least to some degree in the second half of games.
To a point. I would like to see every third series.
Yeah.
But if let's go this every third series. But if Michael Bush starts to get in a groove of his own, maybe give him 2 series in a row.
Yeah,
what's it going to hurt? Especially if he's ground and pound, doing well and moving the chains for the Bears. Why not? Especially against teams like Green Bay, where you need to utilize the clock. I don't want to say that this will be the most memorable part of our season, but that 4-minute drill that turned into a 9-minute drive. How can you not be ecstatic about what happened right there? I think Green Bay did a horrible job of utilizing their timeouts. But that being said, the Bears moved the chain, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways. But just looking back on this season, that'll be one part that I will remember for the whole year. And hopefully there's more and brighter things to come. But just the way that they managed that, Trestman showed his worth and showed his game plan, and it was a beautiful thing, just taking 9 minutes off that clock.
Favorite part of the season is that drive, because, like I said, I call it the Mark Trestman experience. That drive, to me, is everything you need to know about Mark Trestman, in a sense, really the whole game. But 18 plays, I'm looking at it now, 13 times he ran the ball for 63 yards. I think it was like 8 minutes and 58 seconds or something like that, so 9 minutes. And what I liked about it, instead of pounding it up the middle, he knew B.J. Raji in that drive was gassed and couldn't do anything anymore. As much as he wants to shake his finger and go, oh, you're not running on me, when he, snuffed out a screen. You know what? He was huffing bad at the end of that game, and he kept running stretches, kept running around the edge. And he knew that those two big guys in the middle couldn't keep up, and and then as soon as they went down the middle, it was over. There was no way the Packers were going to stop them once they got going. If those two guys aren't really, if Raji, who's a monster and manhandled guards most of the game, that's how you take that guy out of it, and that's been a problem for the Bears. They haven't been able to stop Raji and those guys up front for Green Bay. Now. It's awesome.
Let me throw this at you,
offensive
Darren.
line rules.
Let me throw this at you, Darren. Did you have a Marion Barber flashback when Matt Forte went straight to the ground on his ass after that one carry where he stayed in bounds to keep the clock moving?
Yeah,
because I'm sitting there like, Tim Tebow wouldn't have beat us. All he had to do was that, and we win. And it's stupid because that was 2 years ago, but that's how much I flash back.
Oh, I had flashbacks to exactly where I was standing at that, where the rocket, or wherever the hell we were. I forget exactly. Flashbacks exactly to that, and I was sitting there going, like, I put myself back in that place in the 2 seconds that I was going, no, Forte, don't run out of bounds. This is crazy. And then luckily, I think he caught himself. I was hoping he was just going to cut back, but he did the right thing, just get down, whatever. I was nervous. And then Martellus Bennett also has had problems not getting out of bounds. The total opposite of Marion Barber. There's a couple times I'm going, what are you doing? Just get out of bounds. That extra yard you get's doing nothing for us. And that's become a problem for me, at least. My only complaint about Martellus Bennett, outside of his Kellen Davis impression. Forte not going out of bounds I was scared. I was legitimately scared. I was typing on Twitter. I was getting ready to go to Twitter on my computer, and he went down. I was going, all right. Thanks. No Marion Barber there. That was still the worst feeling I've ever had as a Bear fan.
Moments ago, we were talking about how that will the drive will be the most memorable part of the season. Well, that changes on a week-to-week basis for me. If Calvin Johnson comes into Chicago and Peanut Tillman has a Peanut Tillman-esque game and can control Calvin Johnson, that'll be the most memorable part of the season to me. So let me ask you this. What do the Bears need to do against Detroit to have a victory and be alone at the top of the NFC North after Sunday's game?
Okay, we're going to need some plutonium and a scientist to get Mike Brown, young Brian Urlacher, and young Lance Briggs, and then play the current Lance Briggs on the strong side and Tommy Harris from 2006. We don't have any problems. But seriously, though, Tillman, speaking of him and playing Johnson, I've been worried about it, but he finished that game and didn't get taken off the field. Every game he's off the field for a couple plays. Oh, he's banged up. He finished that game fine. I hope he's not on the injury report. He probably will be this week. But he finished the game. There was no injury with him. That's good. That's good, especially coming into this week when that thing that is Calvin Johnson comes into town. All he's got to do is just limit him. He doesn't have to stop. You're not going to stop Calvin Johnson. I don't think Tillman's going to stop him unless his knee is perfectly healthy somehow. Even at that, if the Bears run cover 2 and he's not in man, Chris Conte's going to just, he's eating dinner somewhere while Calvin Johnson's running down the field. That's what's scary. I don't know how you stop this offense because those safeties are so bad. Major Wright played his worst game probably ever. At least Chris Conte made one good play, and he just came over and covered the route at a decent time for when Aaron Rodgers was actually in the game. His only good play in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, you mentioned the safeties, and they're atrocious. And they're so atrocious that when you said Major Wright's name, I started to get a twitch in my eye.
I got the Jay Cutler twitch now.
Because you draft a guy so high, and you have expectations. Chris Conte, I don't have any expectations for him. I thought that maybe playing on a week-in, week-out basis would have an effect on him. He'd learn some things. Apparently, I've been mistaken.
Yeah,
but with Major Wright, if he's not going to be a factor in the passing game, he's not going to learn his landmarks, he's not going to be able to cover, you would at least expect him to create hell when he's crashing the line of scrimmage in the run game. And you know what? He can't even break down properly to make a tackle and be effective in the running game. So if he can't do either of those things, we're in major trouble. And you know what the problem is? Craig Steltz isn't the answer to that question either.
He's just the little bit smarter, really slow version of Conte. And he kind of knows where he's supposed to be. He just can't get there.
Exactly. And when you said Mike Brown, it was a little tear came down my cheek because he's one of my favorite Bears all time. A lot of people
ever.
Yeah, a lot of people gave him a hard time about the crying in the locker room thing. To be so devoted to your craft and to so much passion, I love that guy. And if any of them safeties had an ounce of Mike Brown in them, we'd be a lot better off. But that's just wishful thinking. So to me, controlling Reggie Bush, not letting him get off for 150 yards is going to be the toughest thing. And because they're going to get theirs. If Calvin Johnson comes out of the game with 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. It sounds like they shredded us, but I will take that stat line all day.
But on the flip side, Reggie Bush could have 15 carries for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's kind of like...
The crappy thing about it is that stat line with Reggie Bush wouldn't shock me at all.
No.
And you got to do something to control that. I don't know if it's going to be sending the blitzers in the A-gaps or what exactly we're going to do to control Reggie Bush, but we got to get it figured out, and we got to get it figured out quickly.
And especially with rookie linebackers. I mean, I thought the rookies played okay at times. John Bostic got wrecked by Lacey once. That's going to happen.
Right.
That dude runs. I mean, he runs like he wants to kill somebody. He'll be done in 3 years because that's how those guys are. But Reggie Bush, they can't tackle anybody, period. Even like a wide, they couldn't tackle Jordy Nelson. How are they going to tackle Reggie Bush? Not that he's some big guy, but he's one of the toughest guys to get your hand on in the league. He's this current age of this NFL. That's their new Barry Sanders for poor man's Barry Sanders, but he's impossible to tackle. He's possible to get down sometimes. So, and he is strong for as small as he is. I don't know how you stop. I honestly don't know. Because if you blitz everybody, I think that Matt Stafford's going to kill him with pedigree over the middle.
Yeah. Kasim Green had a disappointing game for me. I know it was his first start. He's just got to be more reactive out of there. He's thinking too much. You've seen him get completely – there was the infamous photo that we have where Kuhn is leading Eddie Lacy in the hole, and there's no bear to be found.
Yeah.
Well, Kasim Green crashed the wrong A-gap, and that's not instinctive football. That's just him taking a guess and hoping he's right. Well, he was wrong, and that led to a huge run by Lacey. That being said, Jonathan Bostic having a lot of play in the preseason, I think is going to fare well. But Kasim Green has got a lot of potential, in my opinion. I just think he needs to stop thinking and be more reactive. And I think that'll be something they talk about in the film room, and just trust his reads pre-snap, and he'll be more apt to be in the correct position. And a lot of that can be watching the guards, watching the centers, just learning the tendencies, and that can all be learned in the film room.
I've said it for a while. I feel like the Bears I'm like 75% on that the Bears have found 2 linebackers that can be with this team for the next 4 or 5 or more years. I think Bostic's going to be a good player. Kasim Green, I thought he displayed some good stuff, but yeah, exactly. It seemed like he was thinking too much and not just reacting. And I think that'll come with experience, and playing behind Lance Briggs. If you learn everything you can from that guy, because what a better guy to play behind. So hopefully there'll be improvement this week. I was disappointed in his game too. I didn't fully go back on and isolate the linebackers. I'm going by what I pretty much saw live and when I skimmed through the game after that. But they got a tougher task this week with Reggie Bush. So how do you react to that guy? This is the perfect 2 games to throw these rookie line. I mean, it's not a perfect. I don't want to throw them into these games, but let's see what you got. That's the bottom line with these guys. Put up or shut up right now. I'm excited to see Bostic now that he's got a couple games under his belt. So that'll be that. I'm more looking forward to seeing him because I feel like he's getting a little bit better each week. But yeah, I'm overall disappointed in the rookie linebacker so far. Speaking
of linebackers, we were kind of dropping names, and I'm drawing a blank, unfortunately. But the young man that went to Oakland, how happy are you that we got James Anderson instead of spending a ton of money on
Nick Roach?
Yeah, instead of keeping Nick Roach around, James Anderson has been a godsend. I think he had a fantastic game Monday night.
Fantastic season.
He's going to be backing up the long snapper. He's been injured, and if he can't go. Yeah, Manley's injured, and he's going to be probably having his role this week.
I didn't know this.
I've read. Yeah, so Manley's out, and Anderson is going to be handling some long snapping duty. So he's pretty much been a end-all be-all for the Bears linebacking crew and special teams now. So it's Nick Roach. He was a good player while he was here, but James Anderson has just been absolutely fantastic.
And it can't be worse than Des Clark long snapping. So I think we might be all right. I like James Anderson. He had the calls last week. He's been, out of the gate, I was like, who is this guy and why and how did he end up here? I mean, that's a guy you have to re-sign at the end of the year, at the end of the year too. That's another thing, I think Julius Peppers might not be here next year. You got to if you want to re-sign Jay, if you want to give him a couple of years, You got to re-sign Jeffrey. You got to bring Anderson back. How could you not bring that guy back? He's an absolute monster on the field. And he fits in. I think if this was Urlacher from 2010, Briggs and Anderson, I think that would be that top 3 linebacking core in the game. But I think those 2 rookies playing next to a guy like Anderson, what's his 7th, 8th season in the year in the league. So he's been really impressive. That's been I don't even look at him anymore when I look at the game again because I don't have to. He doesn't really do anything wrong. Occasionally, his pick 6 attempt that he had at the end of the last game was really bad. I mean, that looked like his hands were invisible, like it was Madden and it morphed through your hands. It's exactly what it looked like. I'm sitting there going, I could have caught that one. Legitimately. I mean, every out of shape fan goes, I could catch that ball every time, 10 times out of 10. I actually could catch that one. So I don't know what happened
that one
there.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. We absolutely know why he plays defense now, but he's been a godsend on the defensive side of the ball. One of the few bright spots, and
Tim Jennings is the best tackler. To put that clear, he's the best tackling player on his defense. All 5'8" of them.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to say that about a 5'8" cornerback, but it's not an understatement at all. Tim Jennings has performed extremely well this year, and at one point I know we were speaking of
another guy you got to bring back.
Not you and I, but go ahead.
Another guy you got to bring back. Speaking of contracts.
Yeah, at one point this year there was talk of trading Tim Jennings for some draft picks, and when you had your head in your palm saying, "Oh man, this season's going to be a total waste," I actually entertained the thought of maybe giving him to Cincinnati, for a draft pick. But now you got to bring him back because you don't know how long Tillman is for the game. He's battling injury constantly, and Tim Jennings is the best you got when it comes to that secondary right now.
Tim Jennings, the thing I like about him is, every Meatball Bears fan, and we're all guilty of liking the tough, fire and passion guys. Tim Jennings is that dude, 110%. I mean, he gambles, but a lot of the times he gambles, it's because he knows he can get away with it. He doesn't really, he gets beat because he's just not good enough on that level to play against the Calvin Johnsons, but I never come out of a game going, man, Tim Jennings got smoked. It never, ever, it hasn't really happened. Maybe occasionally. He's only 29. That's a guy you have to keep. I did the same thing. As soon as Jay went down, and I thought it was going to be serious, he was going to be out for the year, the fake reports of him going to the hospital and all this stuff immediately during the game, I'm sitting there going, okay, who could we trade? This season's over. Let's trade for somebody and just build through the draft next year. Tim Jennings was the first guy who came to mind. I was like, why not? But he's too good. He's way too good. He forces fumbles. He goes for the strip all the time now. He's getting better. I think he's getting better every year.
Oh, he's definitely getting better every year. And the best part about it is he's savvy enough to know that he's got to take those gambles because look who the hell's behind him. If you expect Conti and Major Wright to make a play to save your ass, you're in deep trouble. It's just not going to happen for the most part, and that's why I think it leads to some of them gambles. And like you said, it doesn't always pay off, but it's been pretty good benefits so far. And you like him to play aggressive, and you hope he continues to do it, especially with Peanut on the other side getting usually the team's number one. So
and, he's had 15 interceptions in 4 years with the Bears. They're 3.5 seasons so far. 15 interceptions. The Bears really, Tillman, he intercepts the ball, but he's still more of a fumble forcer. So it's nice to have that guy like I don't like D'Angelo Hall, but I'm going to use him as an example because he looks to score every time the ball's thrown his way. He looks to score every time he touches the ball. I mean, that's the Bears' mantra on defense, but Tim Jennings does it perfect, as well as anybody, and he usually does. And he's fast, and he's a veteran, so he's not like he's some young kid either. He's getting better as he's getting older, and he's not losing any speed. So it'll be 30 this year. But whatever, he's worth giving a long term, a 2 or 3 year deal to. Especially, you can't rebuild everything, but you're getting desperate. Speaking of thinking of moves to make, you're getting desperate at safety when you consider when Nnamdi Asomugha, I still can never say his name.
Right,
it might be getting cut, and you want to bring him out. And I had the thought, okay, if he gets cut, maybe we can get him for a good deal and move him to safety. I don't know why I want to move him to safety. That's how desperate I am with the safety group. I mean. It can't be any worse.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had a meatball thought of myself is that to try and create some competition on the defensive side of the ball, just to light a fire under their ass, if you will, is why don't we bring Brandon Mayweather back and have him go up against Brandon Marshall every day in practice? That would make for some interesting football. But
I don't know.
obviously, that's just a stupid thought.
Yeah.
But
I don't know who would kill him first, Brandon or Jay. Talk shit to Brandon.
no
I think
kidding.
Jay might run over there and kill him. I don't know. That dude has some serious issues. Wow. I don't know. I don't get it. One game. I could rant about the game suspension for a while. We're pulling in on like 42 minutes, so we'll try to wrap this up so it's not too long and Adam doesn't kill us for editing. I'm trying to think of other great points that I had. What else? Defensively, I think we've pretty much covered most of that stuff. We got to figure out something. Anthony Walters can't be worse. Craig Stelz is bad, but just send a message to that Conte kid. I mean, I like Conte. I think he's a good kid. I had a chance to talk to him last year at camp. I like him. I think you like his athletic ability, but he can't play football. He can't cover anything. I think his confidence is shot, and that's not good at all. He's worse at pursuit angles than Chris Harris, and that dude was bad.
that's if you're going to make that comparison, that's a horrible thing. And you would expect both of these safeties to be at least able to carry their weight when it comes to supporting the run. And when they can't do that, that means that there's something seriously wrong. And hopefully they can address that coming up with Reggie Bush, because you can take advantage of the offensive line, especially with an aging Riola at center and in them A and B gaps. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Bears can come out of Soldier Field with a W and in sole possession of first place in the NFC North. It's going to be an extremely challenging task, but they got me back and excited about watching football again. So, I mean, for a while there, it was just like, oh, man, thank God there's Blackhawk hockey to fall back on. But now it's Bears full force, and I don't want to be a meatball and say Super Bowl bound, because by no means am I ready to jump that far, but we can talk playoffs. I mean, it's an opportunity for them to seize the moment and beat the Lions. You put yourself in pretty damn good position to do so.
You know, it's weird, the emotion switch. We mentioned it a couple times on this show, and I went from wow, thanks for building me a good gap to get into Bulls basketball and Blackhawks hockey Bears, to wait a minute, we could be like the Giants a couple of years ago and sneak in, get hot at the right time, defensive line lights up, total meatball thoughts. But I mean, playoffs aren't really that far off at this point. But I think if the Bears are going to get past Detroit, this is the biggest game of the year so far. I mean, Ed Trustman says every game's the biggest game of the year. But this, if you win this, you're right. You're 6-4. You got a lead in the division, and Jay Cutler's coming back, and Briggs will be back in a couple weeks, and Ratliff's going to be back, and maybe the Baltimore game, probably the game after, in my opinion. You're setting yourself up to be a legitimate team again. I mean, not necessarily a Super Bowl contender, but someone you don't want to play in the playoffs because there's that risk of, and that's how the Giants were to me in 06, 07, the years when they were leading up to winning the Super Bowl and the years after. That's just a team that could get hot, and if the Bears can get hot can stay hot on offense, this could be a kind of a fun ending to a season. This is the most drama we've had at this point of a season with the Lions, Packers, and Bears than we've had in a while. And if Rodgers misses 3 weeks, it wouldn't surprise me if the Packers go 2-1 just because of their schedule the next 3 weeks. So if he's not out that long, Soldier Field, Bears-Packers could be a really big game. Really big.
Yeah. There could be a lot of playoff implications when they come to Chicago. But just my final thought on the whole thing is it's good to have things starting to align. It's good to have the hope back, and the most important thing is we have ourselves an opportunity to get a W going up against Detroit, and just keeping the faith alive and keeping the hope alive it's a beautiful thing. So I'm excited. Looking forward to next Sunday.
Yes, the most excited I've been for Bears football, since when we first started our losing streak. Right before that, when I thought we were 3-0, and then all of a sudden we're 4-3, trying to just hold on to any sort of life we have. I'm excited. I think if the Bears are going to beat the Lions, they're going to have to Tillman's going to have to make Reggie Bush or somebody fumble the ball. That's good. If there's a game we're going to need it, it's going to be this game. Matt Stafford is not that accurate. I don't care what anyone says. He's an out of shape looking skinny dude, kind of with this weird I want to party all the time face. who has a cannon arm, but he just throws it up to Calvin Johnson. And unfortunately, if he throws it up to Calvin Johnson, our safeties are not going to know what hit him. So that's going to be a touchdown every time. But you're going to have to get. I think it's going to take 2 turnovers on defense to beat this, unless McCown just keeps shredding. I don't know, like shredding defense. He didn't really shred him, but the offense as a whole shredded the Packers, and I think the Packers defense is probably maybe a little bit. I don't know. I think that it might be kind of equal defensively. They're better against the run, but it's going to take a total team effort, and the special teams problems have got to end if they're going to win this game. That's just. Our Joe DeCamillis has got to go after this year. I'm longing for the days of Dave Toub already with this weird fake handoff special teams play every time. That's so bad. I mean, Devin Hester's throw a couple weeks ago was awesome. That was he's the emergency quarterback as far as I'm concerned. But wow, that was just no. You don't do that to start a game. Stop with the fake hit. Dave Toub had the best fake receiving play of all time. We got robbed by a phantom call. So just don't try to be Dave Toub. Just block and let Hester return. I think it's going to take 2 turnovers and a good day from Devin Hester to win. Luckily, it's in Soldier. The Lions don't really play that well when they come in the Soldiers, so I don't think we're going to. I don't know where I'm going with this game. I could see it going both ways. I'm probably going to pick the Lions because Jay Cutler's not in, and that's not a knock on McCown. It's just where my head's going to go. But it'll be interesting. It's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be really, really chippy like that game 2 years ago was at Soldier Field where the big brawl broke out. I think it's going to be a chippy game.
I don't want to be a meatball, and I don't know if you usually do your picks, but I have a feeling that the Bears are actually going to come away with this game, and probably by a score of somewhere 30-27. It's just a feeling I got. I know it's early in the week, and a lot of things can happen. But I'm going to go with the Bears in this game just simply because it's at home, and you got to take care of home games in the division to go to the playoffs. And hell, if we could beat Green Bay on the road, I don't care what happened to Aaron Rodgers. He was gone, but they still had to go out there and take care of business. They did. Now it's on your turf. Now you got to play ball. And Matthew Stafford's a very good quarterback, but he can't be gotten to. And if the defensive line could put the slightest bit of pressure on him, have him start chucking the pill carelessly, who knows? So one of the things you said, special teams and defense, but if we can get back to creating a couple turnovers, if the Bears can force 2, I think that's a great number you threw out there. If the Bears can force 2 turnovers,
and you got to convert at least one.
Yeah, absolutely. Put points on the board off of one of them. It's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Sunday, and thank you for having me. It was fun doing this for the first time.
Definitely, I think it's gonna really take off. Everyone's asking about it, and obviously we've had problems with it. But real quick, the last couple thoughts on Detroit. I think it's gonna take 10 points off turnovers. You don't need 2 touchdowns. You're definitely gonna need 10. And I think the same game plan should be a similar game plan. Run the ball. Keep Detroit off the field. But this defense, that's the name of the game. Control the clock management. Exactly. And that's something the Bears have never been good at, but we trust when they are now. So run the ball, feed Forte the entire time. And but granted, that defensive line is a totally different group than what Green Bay's got. So it's a tougher task ahead, but I think that a similar game plan's got to be in play. But yeah, I think this podcast is going to go good. It was starting to get good, and then we kind of trailed off. So now that it's back, so you loyal listeners who hang through this 55 minutes of everything and always ask us on Twitter, hey, when's the podcast? It's back. We're good. We got a bunch of subs, so if one of us can't make it, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm tapped out. Darren, thanks for having me, and I look forward to next time, man.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We revived the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast, and it's back and as good as ever. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys some other time.